the difference in the startup world is you actually don't know the product that you're creating, and you don't really probably know who your market is exactly. And so the word lean there really means you want to reduce the waste in discovering and creating this new value for customers. And so, yeah, if you really don't care about wasting time, money, effort, creativity, inspiration, then maybe lean startup's not for you. And that's fine. There's other methodologies you can adopt, or you can do it on your own. But, you know, most people want to reduce the waste. You want to get to the right answer as quickly as possible. And that's really what the lean entrepreneur is, somebody who's committed to trying to reduce waste in figuring out what product solves what problem and who is my ideal market segment.
Okay, so let's kick off. We'll start today's demo day. So good morning, good afternoon, good evening to wherever in the world you are from. Today we'll discuss about how startups can foster the lean approach so that they can accelerate their businesses. How startups can turn, steer, grow, preserve in such a way that they can bring their products to customer hands faster. Hi, I'm Kaushik Bhausar, your host for today, and also a lead machine learning engineer in Omdena. I'm excited to host 3 thought leaders and experts on the lean startups, and 2 of which will give their case studies on their startups. We're excited to have these thought leaders with us, and let's ignite some curiosity towards the topic. Before moving on to our presentation, let's take a look at today's logistics. So we have 4 sections of today's demo day. We'll start by taking a look at today's topic and speakers. Then we'll move on to a short intro about Omdena and the social good aspect of AI through collaboration. Then we'll hop on to our guest speakers who will shed some light on the lean startup approach. We have Brant Cooper, a New York Times bestselling author of The Lean Entrepreneur with us. We are excited to have him here with us. And then we'll move on to have a look at 2 deep dive case studies given us by 2 startups founder. We have Marcus Matthias-Check with us from Child Growth Monitor.
Hello.
He will be Hi. So he will be speaking about identifying child malnutrition through machine learning. Then we also have Tobias Reiter with us from Wybeck. And he will be speaking about using AI to fix medical chain supply in Africa. So hi guys. Then we'll move to our spotlight. We'll move our spotlights to our panelists again, and we'll have a panel discussion and a Q&A session for about good 25-30 minutes, and then we'll conclude our today's demo. So let's start. A short intro about Omdena. So Omdena was founded in 2019 with a mission to bring together AI experts and domain experts to collaborate and do good in this world. With a bottoms-up approach, Omdena matches these experts with organizations like NGO, startups, and social enterprises who are facing real-world problems. Organizations work with the team of 50 collaborators and produce results in a matter of months. In this way, Omdena too follows a lean approach to build a tangible output and make real-world impacts. In doing so, we have grown to 1,700 plus AI and domain experts from 86 countries, and we are already involved in 36 projects. So before moving to our keynote speech, let's take a look at today's case studies. So we have Marcus Matthias-Check with us. Marcus is the head of software development and product owner at Child Growth Monitor. So CGM is currently partnered with Omdena to identify child malnutrition through machine learning. I personally had the pleasure of working with Marcus in the project, and his knowledge about the data and product amazes me. We have Tobias Reiter with us. He is the co-founder and CEO of Wybeck. So Wybeck is a health tech company that uses AI to expand access to affordable healthcare across Africa. Tobias entered the world of AI when he created an AI-powered trading algorithm with his colleagues back in college, and which was later sold to investors. But he soon discovered that instead of making money, he wanted to solve real-world problems and make real-world impact, and so therefore he co-founded Wybeck. Moving on, we have today's guest speaker. We have Brant Cooper with us. Brant Cooper is New York Times bestselling author of The Lean Entrepreneur and also the founder of Moves the Needle. through which he mentors, guides entrepreneurs to implement lean methodologies for which he is well known for. For over 2 decades, Brant has traveled the globe speaking about entrepreneurs and entrepreneurs about how to discover, create new value, about empowering individuals to make change they want to see in the world. He serves as a global keynote speaker, mentor to entrepreneurs, and trusted advisors to corporate executives. If you haven't seen already, Brant hosts a great podcast called Brant's Rant, in which he speaks about redefining capitalism in 21st century. So we are excited to have these panelists with us, and let's make the best out of it by asking the questions in the chat. I would like to remind you that please put the name of the panelist your question is directed towards, so that we can ask the panelists directly. So let's keep the questions flowing. And with this, I'll hand over the stage to Brant. Over to you, Brant.
Hi, thanks very much. Great to be here. Audience from all over the world, so that's amazing. So I guess I just wanted to say a few words about lean startup, or what I call lean innovation. You don't want to, in my estimation, you don't want to just Google lean startup and see if you can create a lean startup by reading all of the articles online. There's a lot of things that entrepreneurs do in order to imagine how lean startup or lean innovation does not fit their business model. It's good for everybody else, but it doesn't really work for me. It doesn't work for my business. And so I think in general, what one wants to do is try to understand and adopt the principles and sort of ingest them. It's sort of like the difference between craft and art. You need to practice the methodologies, and then you make it your own, and then you can produce art with it. So that's my opening. So do you want me to just continue on, or do you have questions?
Yeah. So we are here actually to listen to your insights about the lean entrepreneurship and the lean startup approaches. So it would be great to hear you more. Yeah.
So I just wanted to pause in case there was any comment on that. But so first of all, the word lean is important, and the word lean doesn't mean be skinny. It doesn't mean don't take money. It doesn't mean stay small. Lean was a word chosen purposefully by Eric Ries, and it's really about lean as in lean manufacturing, or describing the Toyota production system, which was about the elimination of waste, or at least the goal of eliminating waste. And so in lean manufacturing, when you're building a car in Japan in the 50s, what you're making, your product, car, your customer. Maybe it's a North American a family that wants to travel, go on long trips in the summertime. And so the word lean there is, how do I reduce the waste in producing this known quantity for this known market segment? And there's a concept called muda, which describes all of the different kinds of waste there might be in your value stream, and from collecting resources and your parts companies and manufacturing this vehicle. So the difference in the startup world is you actually don't know the product that you're creating, and you don't really probably know who your market is exactly. And so the word lean there really means you want to reduce the waste in discovering and creating this new value for customers. And so, yeah, if you really don't care about wasting time, money, effort, creativity, inspiration, then maybe lean startup's not for you. And that's fine. There's other methodologies you can adopt, or you can do it on your own. But most people want to reduce the waste. You want to get to the right answer as quickly as possible. And that's really what the lean entrepreneur is: somebody who's committed to trying to reduce waste in figuring out what product solves what problem and who is my ideal market segment. And that last part also becomes super vital. As entrepreneurs, we dream of how we're going to change the world, which is great. And we imagine, thinking about the world, we imagine how many people would benefit from our idea, and we come up with a rough estimate of 7 billion. And so, that's great. It's good to have such ambition. And you sort of conservatively estimate that if you charge these people, $1 a year for your technology, that's actually a pretty good run rate. That's $7 billion a year. Surely venture capitalists will be interested in that. Unfortunately, that's not really the way it goes. It's really tough, actually. I was helping a entrepreneur in Madison, Wisconsin once, and I was just mentoring him, and I asked him, well, what is it you need? How can I help you? And he said, I need 1,000 customers. And I said, yeah, okay, great. How many do you have? And he said, 0, I don't have any. And I said, you don't need 1,000, you need 1. So I just, you actually can't get to 7 billion without getting to 1 first. And so we start small. All businesses, well, not all, most businesses start small by definition. And so rather than thinking of, the whole market as being your TAM, your target addressable market, or even rather than Googling how many people have iPhones and therefore determining how many people are in your market, you really want to flip it onto the other side and think about the needs. Who has the need? Who has the most significant pain? Who has the most significant pain and budget? Who has the most significant pain and budget and is aware that they have this problem? Because if they're not aware, now you have to spend a bunch of marketing dollars in order to convince them that they need it. So what you want to try to do is find out your early adopters. And so this ends up becoming, this is hard work. And guess what? You can't really do it behind your keyboard. It's tough these days, with the pandemic here, but you have to go meet your customers. You have to figure out who your early adopters are. And the early adopters are not, in my opinion, defined by a behavior or by a demographic, right? It's a combination of behaviors and characteristics. It looks like a jigsaw puzzle piece. And so you're trying to find this one jigsaw puzzle piece with, this odd shape of characters and behaviors that represents a group of people that are your early adopters. Here in the US, there's these nutty people that spend the night in parking lots outside of department stores in order to be the first person to buy a particular product. Okay, well, that's like, you can look at them in line and they all don't look the same. You can't just think about demographics to figure out who's nutty enough to do that. But it's somebody that's like super fired up on whatever that product is. And that represents this eagerness and this awareness of the problem that they're trying to solve and the awareness of the need that they have that makes them early adopters. You can't convince your early adopters. Your early adopters are somebody that gets what it is that you're talking about from the get-go. And so that's who you start with. That's who you build the momentum around. That's who you prove that you can actually create value for them such that they're going to be willing to sign up or pay you or whatever it is that you're looking for in terms of your business model. And so that's a step that you can take tomorrow, today even. You could try to figure out, what does my early adopter look like? And then you try to go and get warm introductions to those people via LinkedIn, and you send them an in message and you ask to have a video chat with them. And in that video chat, you're not pitching them your solution. You're actually trying to figure out, am I correct? Does this individual represent a market segment that has the need that I think that they have? Now, if you're operating in AI, it's difficult because you're creating solutions that customers won't understand. And so it becomes more important than ever not to pitch what your technology is and that you're not pitching your particular idea. Understanding your customers is not asking your customers what they want and doing what they say, right? You're responsible for doing the solution. They don't understand all of that stuff. They just know, if you talk to them correctly, they can describe their need and what the priorities of their needs are, and what are the obstacles they have in addressing those needs, and why existing solutions don't work well for them, and what are ways that they would be interested in that are like would improve that experience. So you don't want to ask your customers to predict their own future. Would they do X? Would they pay for Y? How much would they pay for Z? Customers are horrible at predicting their own future. And so you want to talk about what have they done in the past? What are they doing now? What are their workarounds? What are their fears? Who helps in making their decisions? What is their environment like that might create obstacles for what you have in mind? So it's really just all deep learning. And if you can tap into their aspirations, that's even better, right? Like what does it mean to them if you actually resolve this issue? What are they trying to achieve in their own life? And this part of it, again, sort of gets to the potential passion they have about you solving their problem. And that's what creates a lifelong customer. You're thinking about this as developing a relationship with these people. You want these people to be your customer. You want them to be your lifelong customer. So you treat them with respect and with empathy such that you're developing a relationship with them. And this applies for all of you entrepreneurs that haven't started, but all of your entrepreneurs that have already started, who are trying to figure out who are my passionate customers and why are they passionate and why are they more engaged than other ones. You have to talk to them. You can't just automate all of this stuff. Think about it in terms, again, of developing a human relationship with these people. And that's what's actually going to give you the insights. In this day and age, in my opinion, even though all of your advisors and mentors and some of your investors are asking you what your patent portfolio is, your competitive advantage is insights that you have in the market. Insights that you glean that nobody else has is your competitive advantage, not your IP, to be perfectly honest with you. And so the only way you actually get those insights, yes, you can monitor their behavior or how they're interacting with your product and you can get the data, but it's talking to them and it's understanding them deeply. And it's actually putting them in the proper buckets, like early adopter, that allow you to capture that insight quickly, that it ultimately is going to be whether you succeed or not. And so that's a lot of hustle. It's not behind your keyboard. It's not just imagining you're the customer. It's talking to them. And it's one of the harder things to do based upon our own social fears and all those type of things. And so again, if you're willing to hustle and get yourself out of that, then you will more quickly get to those insights. So I guess I'll pause again there. How are we doing time-wise?
We are right on time. That's really you have actually summed up every single thing in the questions which you have just mentioned. And listening to you, like I really wonder. When you said that, like people are early adopters are making lines out of the stores, and it's not just in US. It's every single where, and I can see it in my city as well. But thank you
Yeah.
so much for this amazing insights. We'll move to Marcus for his presentation, and then we'll move to Tobias. And thanks again, Brant, for this
Yeah, of
amazing
course.
insights.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, and thank you for letting me take over at this point, because this just speaks so much to me what Brent said. Yeah, it's what I would like to add maybe to that. Yeah, is that it's kind of the lean approach. I understand it as kind of you can't eat an elephant in one bite, right? But you still have to make sure you've chosen the right elephant to where you are start chewing away on it, and that you where is this elephant? What is it? And only switch elephants if it's really necessary. You pivot only when it's necessary, or you won't get done eating the elephant anyway. Yeah. I'm really glad that maybe I can add a little bit maybe from the practice, or I hope I can add a little bit from our practice when it comes to my problem. So I'm a product owner, and I see myself kind of a bit as a problem owner also of the problem. And so I want to tell you a little bit my story, but also that of the problem that my team and I that we're solving. Yeah. And that is, so I'm an IT solution architect. So first of all, you have to do things differently. Usually last slide is name and contact details. Sometimes it's good to do things differently. I'll start here with my contact details and introduce myself as an IT solution architect. And I've been working consulting, IT consulting for the public sector for quite a while. And I want to introduce also my wife and my son a little bit, as they have to do with this story. Yeah, this is my wife in the middle, measuring children in a healthcare project we did in 2012 in Kenya, in the outskirts of Mombasa. And on the right-hand side, it's my son, viewed through the lens of the very first prototype that I've built in 2017, basically. Yeah, and so I had a nice life and I didn't have much problems. I would say, got 99 problems, but my wife and my kid ain't one, to paraphrase a famous popular contemporary philosopher. And so how you get a problem? Yeah, that's the first step. And so I was invited by an organization who actually has a big problem, which is they want to get to zero hunger by 2030. That's a United Nations Sustainable Development Goal. We will eradicate poverty and hunger until 2030 and make sure that we can provide health and well-being for everyone on this planet by 2030. Yeah, huge goal. So big problem with a lot of sub-problems there. Yeah, that's a great start, I would say. Yeah. So I was invited to a design thinking challenge. And this is where you make it tangible, where you really think about who has this problem, and you really go through their day and find out really what is the problem, and then maybe think about how can you challenge that, how can you solve that. In my case was a woman in rural India, husband, migration worker, only there sometimes 3 children, and one of the children is malnourished and she doesn't know. So what do you do about this? Well, turns out there are solutions for this, which are basically you measure the children. Yeah. You take measurements, you know this, if you live in a system where there's a good healthcare system like me in Germany, children are regularly being measured, and this is how you identify problems with nutrition, also allergies sometimes, that stuff. The child is not growing regularly, not growing in height and weight. There might be some problem that you have to identify, some underlying problem, yeah? But then you can like target it, identify that problem. But you need to measure the child first. And so measurement is actually a huge challenge when it comes to this United Nations Sustainable Development Goal. Yeah, there is some survey data. It's really hard to get accurate data, to get it timely. Also for one child, like many children are just not being measured. And why is this the case? Yeah, because it's really hard and expensive and time consuming to measure the children. So this is a counterintuitive problem, which you wouldn't think that measurement of height is really a problem. Yeah? But if you look at it in detail, then you find out it's a huge problem. It's not being done, and when it's done, even half of the time it's not being done properly. Yeah? So the data is very unreliable. So now we can think about the solution. And for that, I think you need a vision. Yeah, you need to identify the elephant basically in the room. And so for us, vision is that we want that every child on the planet we think every child on the planet should be screened for malnutrition to guarantee the right to health and zero hunger. So this is basically, I should have described it in the way it is, the state it actually is. Yeah, it will be, once we hope it to get, which is basically every child on the planet is measured, is screened for signs of malnutrition, and the right is guaranteed. Yeah. This speaks also to me and my team. Yeah? And you identify the mission, which speaks to your customer in a way, which is we deliver quick and accurate data on child malnutrition in the most ethical way to organizations working on zero hunger on this problem, and define some values that go with it, like privacy. It's a very strongly rooted foundation for us, collaboration. Hello, Omdena. Yeah, thank you. Transparency, accountability, and sustainability. Yeah. And so from there, what you need is then you can lay out a roadmap. So if you have a hard problem like we have, you cannot chew the elephant in one piece. You need to break it down, and you need to show your stakeholders that you are getting there bit by bit. Yeah. You need to show your learnings. This is what Brant said. They invest in your learnings also, yeah, and in what you and in what you get done from that, what you make out of those learnings. And so you have to break it down. So the first prototype was done after 3 months and basically could measure, but my son was running around, was playing hide and seek, and was obvious, okay, it's a solution, but it doesn't work. It won't work. We have to do it differently. And then we break down into steps. How do we solve this hard problem where we have a very difficult MVP, yeah, MVP which takes a long time to develop, much longer than you can't build a three month MVP like you would usually in a lean approach, yeah. And so you break it down, you make sure you achieve your targets, your goals, and have continuous stakeholder buy-in, yeah, because you won't get all the funding that you need at one time. You will need those stage gates, and make sure you minimize risk and maximize the chance of succeeding. And yeah, so then you need a team, yeah, to do it. Start small, grows big, and you need great partners. I've put here Omdena with the team more in the slide, but also, yeah, we have a great team, great partners. That's very important, vital. And then you need users also, very, very important. Again, Brant already mentioned it. You need users, and you need to know your users really well. So this is how we started and how we continue to build our personas, to get to know our users and constantly learn about their challenges, about our value proposition, therefore. And when it's not working due to COVID, yeah, what we do is we do virtual field visits where we use Microsoft Teams to just get a glimpse in what they're doing in the daily work, and get the team, the actual development team, to get insights, to see what are they doing, how they're doing it. It's not a real replacement for actually being there, but it's the next best thing, I think, yeah. And so this is an example from a standardization test that was done using the traditional tools as well as our smartphone application, where the whole team, my team was invited and was taking part, and to learn more about our users, what they do, how they do it, and so on. And also, this is how you get your data, yeah, to validate your assumptions, validate your hypothesis, which you need to do constantly. So for us, the solution is basically we scan an informed consent sheet where we have signature of the parents. We get the right to actually process the data, take it, learn from it. We process the data that we get, anonymize it. We get 3D measurements. We build all kinds of models, but also different types of visualizations of our data. And then we use AI, deep learning, machine learning to get things done. Yeah, simple as that. Yeah. And for us, so yeah, I want to mention that privacy, data protection has the highest priority. So for us, the data belongs to the children, to the parents. Actually, we just get the right to use it for the purpose of contributing to the fight against hunger. So we are GDPR compliant and really taking this very, very serious investments in that area. I think it's not only because we think it's great or it's merely necessary. I also think not having this, not getting privacy right, is a huge adoption issue. I won't scan my son with a solution from Facebook. If it uploads the data to Facebook, I won't do that. So it's quite obvious, that data protection is front and center for many AI solutions. Our approach is open source, which fosters transparency, collaboration. We are building with this. So right now it's a project of the German NGO Welthungerhilfe, who invited me, who were original problem owners until I kind of took this on, or identified this problem. And so what they are great at, they're doing social business. They're trying out new approaches of development for development, and development not in terms of IT software development, but development actually, as it's meant in the old world. And what they're doing is like social businesses, innovations, looking for innovations, implementing them, Yeah, and we're doing this as a project, but a project is never sustainable. Hopefully, the outcome of the project is sustainable impact. So if it's a project, what is the sustainable outcome? It's a product, and the product needs a company. So we build a non-profit social business to go with it. That's at least the goal, yeah? And very collaborative and transparent about it. And so that's it from my side. I hope it was interesting and you learned something or got some insights into how we do this. And yeah, thank you for inviting me. If you can add to this, like great advisors, they are always needed, as well as at the moment, for example, we're needing, we need, for example, if you knowledge with Azure ML pipelines, if you can help with that, for example, or ETL and ML pipeline solutions like Airflow or Prefect or whatever there is out there. If you have that, then you can get in touch. That would be really nice. If you want to help, just get in touch. And if you have any questions, then yeah, I'm happy to answer.
You really had us hooked from the initial elephant analogy to the last. It was really interesting. Thank you so much, Marcus. Let's move on to our second case study. Tobias, I'll hand over the stage to you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Marcus. Thank you, Brant, for this very interesting presentation. I really admire, what you are doing, Marcus, with your project. I'm happy to be here in a room full of impact-driven data scientists and entrepreneurs. Yeah, let me just share my screen. 1 second. I hope you can all see it, right? Yes? Okay.
Yeah, it's visible.
Great. So my name is Tobias Reiter. I'm from Vienna, Austria. Right now I'm located in Rwanda, Kigali, the capital city of Rwanda. And I've been living here for 3 years now. Basically, I got into the world of AI, of machine learning when I was in college. And I built an AI-powered trading algorithm with my friends. It was just, it was a hobby and it was a lot of fun. And then it turned into our first startup. And we were making a good living, I would say, with that trading algorithm. But something was missing in my life, and that was, a purpose. And I wanted to do something with my knowledge of data science and the technology that I acquired. I wanted to do something meaningful, so got interested in Africa, came to Rwanda to do research on entrepreneurship from a university. And I met my co-founder from Kenya, who was working in the medical supplies industry for 10 years. And he showed me how broken the medical supply chain is. Not only in Africa, actually everywhere in the world, as COVID has shown, but especially here in Africa. And wherever we went, Rwanda, Burundi, Congo, Kenya, we saw the same situation. Hospitals have to stock huge quantities of medical supplies because of very weak infrastructure. Everything has to be imported from abroad, which can take up to 3 months until the products finally arrive here. And there is civil war in many countries, or civil unrest. So this creates a lot of uncertainty. When are hospitals going to get the next shipment, the next medical products? So what they often do, unfortunately, is they have to stock huge quantities of certain products, let's say 10,000 face masks, 5,000 surgery gloves at their hospital, and then they don't have any money left to buy other products that are really needed. So when patients come to the hospital, unfortunately, they don't have the products that are needed to be treated. And that is why in the developing world, every minute, 5 people are dying because of diseases that could be treated if the right medical products were available, especially in Africa. And as I already said, the medical supply chain is really broken here. Weak infrastructure, it takes up to 3 months, sometimes even 7 months when a bridge is broken, when there are rebels. I'm talking now about Eastern Congo, Central African Republic. that are in urgent need of medical supplies, then inefficient procurement, often, you know, basically the inventory and poor inventory management. Inventory is done in notebooks on a piece of paper. There are no software solutions that are used, especially in rural areas. Maybe you know, people at the hospital are writing, putting down the inventory and recording it in Excel or in other, you know, in a Word document. But this is all very unprofessional, very inefficient. And we thought, okay, we want to solve this. How are we solving it? Well, we thought, what if we can offer an inventory management and procurement software for free to hospitals where they can record all the inventory, they can keep track of the medical products that they currently have at the hospital. And we are making sure that for every product, there is always the right minimum quantity available. No need to have 10,000 surgery gloves. Probably 500 per week will be enough, right? So by doing that, hospitals will have more resources available for other medical products, a wider product range in order to be able to treat every patient. And, you know, we are doing that, as I said, with our software. Basically, through our software, hospitals can buy medical products directly from the manufacturer, from Asia, from Europe, sometimes also from, you know, African manufacturers, for example, in Kenya. And that's how we want to make healthcare affordable and available by linking manufacturers directly to hospitals. And at the same time, we want to de-risk medical supplies, because with all the data that we are collecting through our software, you know, we can of course predict what is going to be needed, what is not needed to avoid overstocking, and we can predict, we can actually you know, see for anomaly detection if there is a certain outbreak for a disease. That could be now COVID, but especially here in Central Africa, there would be a malaria epidemic, right? In northern part of Burundi, for example, suddenly a lot of malaria-related products are needed. So we see, that could be a malaria outbreak. We notify healthcare providers on time so that they can prepare for that epidemic. And if I can continue, our business model, as I already said, we want to link manufacturers that are storing their medical products at our fulfillment center directly to the end user here, to hospitals, through our online marketplace. So our AI-powered inventory management records whenever you know, a product will be needed, a certain threshold, let's say 200 face masks have to be at the hospital. Now, when they only have 250 left, we automatically deliver from our local warehouse new supplies. And our business model, basically, you know, we're a marketplace where, again, we link, at the same time with market access, we link international manufacturers directly to the end user, cutting out the middleman that makes medical products very expensive, because often they have a margin of 200%. You know, they import products from, let's say, China, stock them, and then sell them at a margin of 200%. We want to eliminate that by giving market access directly to the manufacturers that can sell those products at a much cheaper price. Inventory management, of course, through our software, everything is automated. Whenever new stock is needed, the stock is procured automatically. AI, as I already said, with all the data that we are collecting, you know, we can use it for pattern mining, pattern recognition, anomaly detection, early warning systems. We have fulfillment centers where the products are fully insured and delivered on demand, no need to overstock products. And at the same time, we deliver automatically and on demand, and payment is done through a blockchain based payment system, everything in a transparent way, avoiding, you know, corruption and bribery among healthcare providers, which is unfortunately many African countries very common. Blockchain payment system, that's what we're currently developing. And Our AI, I guess that's the most interesting part for all of you. As I already said, demand prediction, right? Through pattern recognition, pattern mining, pattern recognition, anomaly detection, basically predicting the demand for each medical product at any given time. And that's also not, that leads to the supply prediction part of our business, because also for all the manufacturers, right, we can tell them when they have to manufacture products and which products they have to manufacture specifically for the African markets that we operate in, thereby, you know, improving their supply chain. Optimize delivery routes. So we would make real-time decisions which carrier and which way, you know, will be the most efficient in order to deliver medical products as fast as possible. And contingency plans. Basically, you know, our AI is not only ready for contingency plans, it also develops what will be the best solution for each problem. It doesn't only identify the problem, it develops the solutions as well. And why Africa? Well, more efficient medical supply chain is urgently needed in Africa. As I already mentioned, many people are dying because of diseases that could be treated, and advanced solutions do not yet exist. And Africa as a starting point, we chose Africa as a starting point because of growth. As you all know, there's a huge population growth, right? We're an impact-driven startup. We don't only talk here about economic growth, which is also a factor, of course, but we're talking about population growth. And Africa by 2100 will be the second most populous continent in the world. Some even say the most populated continent. And if the population growth continues like that and the medical supply chain is still broken, this will have devastating results, you know, for the people here. So that's why we chose Africa as a starting point. Also, of course, the healthcare capacity, right? I mean, there's a huge need, as COVID has shown now, for advanced solutions and for upgrading the healthcare infrastructure in general in sub-Saharan Africa. And the business environment, the high economic growth now, all the manufacturers want to enter Africa, but, you know, setting up a sales office here in each country, and getting to know the local market and the way things work here is very difficult for many manufacturers and also very risky. So we want to eliminate that risk. We have our fulfillment center, our technology that delivers their products on demand whenever needed directly to the hospital. Our team, so I talked a little bit about myself. I also mentioned Alex, our co-founder and COO, who grew up in Kenya in a slum, in one of the biggest slums in Nairobi, in the whole Africa actually, Kibera, and he saw how the broken medical supply chain really affects people's lives. He saw some people die because of, you know, a lack of medical products, and that's why he actually entered the healthcare industry. So I'm very honored and very proud to have him on our board. And our CTO, Neville, who is from South Africa, who had a startup in Botswana, and then he came to San Francisco, Silicon Valley, where he, you know, worked for many startups, and then he became head of data science at eBay. So he joined our company, of course, not because of money, we can't afford that, but because of the impact he wants to create. So we are a very impact-driven team that has the same mission. And where are we right now? So far, you know, we're working with more than 300 hospitals, clinics, and healthcare providers in Rwanda, Burundi, and Congo. And we already have, you know, EBITDA positive and already have decent revenue, working in 3 countries. So talking about a lean startup, we have tried out many things. I think we'll cover that later in the discussion. We often have to, test hypotheses, pivot our product, but now we have a decent traction where we have a huge customer base that we're working with. And now we want to work also with Omdena. We have already collected quite some data ourselves. Of course, there's also data out there, especially on medical supplies, with which we have built our own models. But we want to work together with hopefully all of you, right, with Omdena. We're a huge fan of the organization, of the idea of this international network of data scientists and machine learning experts that can work together. So right now we are in the phase of preparation. We want to augment our data sources, our data set. And then basically in May, we want to improve together with all of you our existing AI models, and of course build additional models and together make healthcare accessible and affordable all over Africa, hopefully. So I hope you will join us when time is ready, and I'm happy to answer any question, and I'm looking forward to the discussion. Thank you very much.
I'm already excited to join you guys in the project. You've made me excited from a long back. So without further ado, we are wait. So the moment has come. We have been waiting for this session, for this section, the Q&A section. We have Tobias, Marcus, and Brant with us in the panel, and keep the questions flowing. And before we move to the audience's question, let's get warmed up by questions from our side, and then we'll move to your questions. Okay, so this question is towards you, Brant. So you have spoken to many entrepreneurs and founders throughout your career. What would you say that distinguishes the most successful ones from the ones who did not quite get there? And when I mean successful in living up to the mission they initiated.
I guess it's two things. One is hustle. Again, I think there's a lot of people that hide behind their keyboard, and I think it's not the right way to grow a business. And the second is, I think you heard this from both Marcus and Tobias, is the listening to the market, and so being willing to change based upon what the market is telling you. That part is really difficult because people confuse their vision with how they're going to achieve their vision. And so the vision is what stays intact, the mission, what you're going to accomplish. But there's a whole graveyard of social impact entrepreneurs who had a vision about how they wanted to help some group of people in the world. And so they built a product and launched a product that had nothing to do with that world. And so it's you serve the mission and the vision by being willing to change your mind, by being willing to pivot, like both of these guys talked about. And so those are the ones that succeed. And it's listening to the market is hard because you'll hear different things. And so you have to, at some point make a difficult decision, but hopefully you keep that adaptability so that even if you make the wrong pivot, you can pivot again. And so it's being tenacious and willing to bust down through the tough wall, while at the same time being willing to change. So that's sort of the art of entrepreneurship, and it's hard.
Yeah, and pivoting from a code which you have created, it's like a baby to you. It's very hard,
Yes.
especially in the tech world. My second question is towards Tobias and Marcus, both of you guys. So your startups are focused on building solutions for developing countries, which must be different from the startups focusing on developed countries market. So maybe you could tell us about the main challenges you faced going to a market, and give your thoughts on how those are different from the startups going to a developed country market. Any of you guys can start. Tobias, would you like to go first?
Sure. Yeah, that's actually a very good question. It is a big difference, at least for us. Basically, in the developing world or in Africa, I can say, the problem is that you don't only have to deal with the technology part as a startup. You have so many factors, that you have to deal with. For example, financing, right? Your customers are not able to pay you on time. Then you can't pay your engineers on time. Then some engineers drop out. Then you have basically changes in regulations all the time. You have limited resources because it's very difficult, to be honest, or at least for us, more difficult to get funding when you are an impact-driven startup that focuses on Africa because it is more risky to entrepreneurs and to investors to invest in it. But then on the other hand, you have a lot of impact-driven people that are joining you. And that is the biggest advantage, I would say. People are working not because they're motivated by money and the big exit. They're working with you because they're motivated by the impact you can create. And that is just, from my perspective, a lot more productive. So that those are the differences that I personally see. But you have to be, the good thing is you have to be very agile, right? Here, when you work in Africa, you'll learn how to build a lean startup, because whatever your idea is, it always doesn't work out. At least that's how it happened for us. We always have to pivot until you find something that works, and then you see, okay, that's the way to go, and then you pivot again and again and again. Whereas in Europe, I would say it's a little bit more predictive, given the whole ecosystem.
Marcus, would you like to add on that?
Yeah, so there isn't, for us, the new challenge is I can't go there. As a product owner, I should be more in touch with the users, and I want to be. It's really hard or impossible right now. Yeah, so huge challenge. Tobias has it better living in Kenya, I understood, or Rwanda. Yeah, nice place. So yeah, that's hard. There can be proxies, but it's obviously not the best thing. Other than that, I mean, the first challenge we identified very early on is unstable connections, or even users going offline for weeks. And if you're building a solution which relies heavily on data, and actually you need to start, you cannot do the edge computing and do everything on the device, including the training. It's just not possible at the moment with a complex solution. So you need to get the data, yeah? And so offline and unstable connections is a technical issue, technical problems. Yeah? Other than that, I don't think that the developing world is any different for our problem than it is in Germany or the US or anywhere in this world. That children are being measured. It's just a different urgency. You have a much higher urgency. If 40% of children are malnourished, then it's just immensely, yeah. The excitement of the users, which for our case, they understand immediately what we're trying to do, and they get too excited about it. Yeah, you have to do good expectation management, yeah? Because it takes a lot of time to solve the problem. Yeah? We've been working on it for 3.5 years now, and now get the MVP out only. And so, yeah, the sense of urgency is a different one. So if you have compassion and you know your users, you know families who are affected, I think that's very important. But it's not so different for us, at least, if the solution would be used in Germany or in India or in Africa. It's just, yes, it makes much more sense to develop it. Yeah? It probably wouldn't make sense, yeah, if everyone had a healthcare system like Germany. Yeah? But look at the US, or I don't know, it's not everywhere. Yeah? I mean, there are better ones also. Yeah? I don't want to.
Okay, that was really very well answered by both of the panelists, Tobias and Marcus. Thank you so much. My next question is to Brant. This is a question from the audience. Dipanshu asks, any disadvantages of lean strategy or specific caution we should take while going for a lean strategy?
Yeah, no, I mean, again, I sort of opened with it applies to everything. And I think you heard two, again, great case studies of, where things are going to change. And so the whole point of lean startup, lean innovation is trying to run experiments in a small way so that when you have to change, you haven't spent a lot of time and money and resources on what you're changing from. So in my world, the lean innovation is a combination of design thinking plus the rapid experimentation part of lean startup plus agile technologies. And you sort of integrate those and you find a working cadence so that you balance the execution work that you need to do with the learning work. And so that, all businesses are in some places along a continuum where there are things that and so you have to go do those things, and still things that you have to learn. And I think the other important aspect of lean startup or the lean innovation is that those assumptions occur anywhere in your business model. It's not just the product, right? You can build a great product that users want to use, but they have no way to acquire it. They have no way to pay for it. So you have to think about the whole business model. This panel is not about how do you build an MVP or how do you build a product strategy. It's how you build a business in service to your mission. And so your assumptions exist all across your business model. And the real part about specifically about lean startup that I like, which I think design thinking doesn't really do, because design thinking is really product focused, is this ability to run experiments to try to figure out whether you're going down the right road at all. And so there's a question in there from Krishnendu about why are we talking about AI at all? And I think that he's got a great point. I mean, you should be going into solving a problem technology agnostic, because it isn't about the technology. There's nobody in these developing countries that they don't care about AI. And a matter of fact, AI itself, I went to my first, this is going to age me, but I went to my first AI conference in the 80s, right? So, I mean, the AI, I don't know that any technology has gone through more hype cycles than AI. So we're not talking yet about like robots that can learn from humans, right? So, I mean, we've got a long ways to go for AI. AI is really just kind of algorithms, which is great. But it's not as earth-shattering as the promises yet. And so, like, don't worry about whether it's AI or not. Go solve a problem in the world and use whatever technology that best solves that problem. And so the young engineers out there, I think it's great. You need to push the boundaries of AI, but do it in service to a problem, and it's the right solution problem. Okay, I'll stop ranting there.
So what you mean is like we are not facing any robot invasion any soon, right? Yeah.
No.
So yeah. Okay. That's very relaxing. So respecting the time, we are right on time, and that's really amazing. Respecting the time. Let's wrap it up by a small thank you note to all the panelists we have. Thank you, Brant, for your amazing insights. Thank you, Marcus and Tobias, for the glance into your startups. We couldn't have anything better than these two startups for today's topic. Amazing work, guys. Thank you so much for joining in. Thank you to the audience for joining in from across the world. It's somewhere early morning, it's somewhere late night. Thank you so much again, guys. Have a nice day, and happy Thanksgiving to our friends in US.